A while to get them to come down here as they, make their way down the East Coast. You're sitting in our 1905 New River Inn. It is now our main history museum, and if you ever have a chance to stop by again, you're more than welcome to come visit us. We have some snacks and refreshments in the back, and thank you, Jeff and Mike, for coming down.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome. My name is Jeff Davies, my co-author Mike McGinnis, and we've written a book called Florida History in Pictures. Ellery was kind enough to allow us to come over and share the book along with our Facebook group, which is basically how all of this came together. Briefly, I'm originally from the South Florida area, grew up in Miami, along with that quiet gentleman there in the front row. Anyway, growing up in Miami in the late 70s and the 80s, if you wanted to do anything sociable, you didn't do it in Miami or Miami Beach. You came up here to Fort Lauderdale. This is where everything was happening. So I'm very familiar with the area, and now I live in Boca Raton. I've been there since 1993 with my wife and my family. Always been interested in history. About 10 years ago, I literally fell into a Facebook group called Historic Florida, where I met my friend Mike. We have shared interests in history from Florida, from Orlando, from Miami, from different parts of the 67 counties of the state. And over the years, the group has grown. We now have 208,000 members. Wow. That are in our group, and we basically started, when I came on the group, it was about 100, maybe to 200 at the most. A little less than 2 years ago, we were approached by McIntyre Purcell Publishing out of Canada, and they offered us the opportunity to take what we've done in our Facebook group and turn it into a book. So we talked, we discussed how were we going to make it different from the books that you see, with all due respect, here, and other places. What was going to make us stand out from other people? Well, we put our heads together and we figured, wow, we have so many members. Let's reach out to the members. Let's let the members go into their trunks, let them go into their photo albums, find out what's up in their attic, and see what they can contribute that's part of Florida's history, which will make our book stand out from others. Well, lo and behold, about 30%, 35% of the book are photos from our members, which you won't find online, you won't find in any historical museum, they're not in any college library, but they're living history. So the goal today is to share some of Fort Lauderdale and Broward County's history with you. We have some photos to show you in a little bit. Answer some questions, possibly sell a few books, and hopefully you'll look at our group, possibly join, and see why the history of the 67 counties of Florida is so important to us. Mike? Thanks.
Okay, my name's Mike McGinnis, and I started these Facebook groups back around 2011. I started a Historic Orlando group. That was my hometown, and I found quite a few like-minded people that were interested in joining the group, and we started posting photos from old photos that we could find from Orlando, and it took off pretty rapidly. We had a tight-knit group of members, and we all learned from each other and enjoyed sharing photos and memories. So we decided to take it to a larger scale, and we started a Historic Florida group. And it was really neat.
Did you say a historical what group?
Historic Florida group.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That was the original name of our Facebook group. We've since changed it to the same name as the book, so there's less confusion. but it's the original group, but we started it 2012, I think it was. And back then, Facebook had a limit as to how many photos you could put in each group, and it was 5,000. So what would happen, we would get to 5,000, and as we would post more photos, the old ones would disappear because it only had room for 5,000. So then we were faced with a kind of a dilemma, like how are we going to proceed? So we decided to start a Historic Florida 2. And so, but it was only maybe 6 months or so before we would get another 5,000. So fortunately, Facebook has stopped doing that. So our group that we have now was originally called Historic Florida 10. And it was the last one we had hoped. And yeah, so all of those other groups still exist, but the 10, we decided to avoid the confusion. We changed the name to Historic Florida, the original. Then the book happened. Then we decided to change it one, and hopefully this will be the last time. We changed it to match the title of the book, so you can find us on Facebook, or you can find us in Barnes & Noble or Amazon if you want to purchase our book. But the group is really where we have been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people throughout the state that are sharing their photos and memories, and we've created a pretty cool community of people that have similar interests and are just interested in learning in general about Florida history. So I'm originally from the Orlando area, as I mentioned. I lived in Orlando until I was 7. Then we moved to Tampa. I lived there for 5 years. Then moved to Atlanta. My father got transferred up there. And then a year after I graduated high school, I moved back to Florida. So I've lived in Florida my whole life with the exception of 5 years spent in Georgia. But have always had a strong interest in history. My father was a historian, I guess you could say. His favorite topics were the Civil War and World War II, and of course, like U.S. history. And as a kid, I would just look through the books. You know, this is before the internet, and we only had cartoons on Saturdays, so there's a lot of downtime. You know, so I would look through his history books and just, I don't know really how it started. I just always had a fascination with old photographs and you know, wondering what people's lives must have been like back then and how they got through their everyday trials and tribulations. And you know, we have a lot to be thankful for, all the people that came before us that kind of made things easier for us now. So we like to pay tribute to those people, and we talk about, we let people post their pictures of their old, you know, their grandmothers and grandfathers and great grandmothers, and so we're very proud of the community that we've created. We're proud of the book that we've created. I'll let Jeff discuss more about the book, and then we'll get into the slides after that.
A little more about the book. As I said earlier, the book is an extension of our group. And what we've done is we've taken photographs that were donated, that were unique. We have photographs dating all the way back from the 1880s till around 1980, approximately. So we cover about 100 years. But what's interesting is that you look at a book and you see a photograph of the Bok Tower in Lake Wales, or you look at a book and you see a photograph of here in Fort Lauderdale, but then you also look at a book and you'll see a photograph of the Miami Seaquarium from the 1970s. That was taken by...
I
yes.
went there in the 1970s. No, actually, I didn't go in there. I've been there, not in the 1970s. Beg your pardon, not in the 1970s, but I've been there.
Yeah, there's a photograph of the Miami Seaquarium from the 1970s, and it's more like a period piece. But also within the book too, Mike did this, I helped him a little bit, but he did the lion's share of it. There's a complete timeline of the history of Florida from, would you say, the 1500s on?
Before that.
Okay,
Native American, Paleo Indians, when they first.
all the way up to the current, all the way up to the current day. So that's also part of the book. But again, not to be redundant, but it bears repeating, the heart of the book are the photos from our members. Without our members, we have nothing. The group is basically, hold on a second, where's that little mouse? Give me 1 second, down. Okay, this is our Facebook cover here. Florida History and Pictures. At last count, we have 208,600 members.
Wow.
We usually have about 200 to 300 new members each week. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But again, the key to the group, you see over here where it says discussion, because it isn't just a nostalgia group, it isn't just a place where we'll post as many photographs as we possibly can, like did you eat at the lunch counter at Woolworths? Or did you have clackers in the 1970s? Bazooka bubble gum? No. There's nothing wrong with that, but it isn't what we do. We're more interested in photos. Like here's an example, okay? Right here, this is a member. He found a photograph of the old Civil War hospital in Madison, Florida, and it's still standing today.
Wow.
He put 2,000 people liked this photo, but 37,000 people viewed the photo. And what I like is you've got all our other members here that are putting their own comments.
Oh, where's that UFO house?
What is it?
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's that's a plantation, isn't it?
no, in the Keys.
Oh, that's the one in Alamorada, okay.
Right, in the Florida Keys.
All right, I know what that is.
So it's, what over here, like view more comments. Great that is restored. I love the history of Florida. You get more information sometimes from our other members because we have members who are historians, we have members who are in local media, we have members that are in local government, teachers, other educators, colleges. There are colleges that have used our book and our group as teaching tools. And shortly, because our group follows the 4th grade curriculum, when they teach you about the state of Florida, our book will be in the school system too. So that's, that's a plus. So it was, the idea really, even though it was given to us, we took it as not an opportunity to pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, Mike and Jeff, we are now authors. Yes, we're authors, but this is just a living record of what we've been trying to do since 2012. And now it's in book form. Right now on our group, if you look at our archives, we have between 75 to 80,000 photos. So you could pick any obscure town in the state of Florida, a ghost town, a current town, an area, a subject, and there's a pretty good chance that we have at least 1 or 2 photos of that area. We've covered all 67 counties, some more than others because, of course, there's more going on. I mean, there are these smaller companies, counties that we cover, but we just try to do them all. And we try to do them all justice. Now, let me go back over here and see if I can do this.
I'm sure you probably have a picture back from the day, the Young Mansion in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, Joseph Young.
Joseph Young, founder of Hollywood, yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. Young Circle.
Yep.
Dollywood Beach. Yeah, go ahead. Click that. Okay, sure.
Back in the day is how many years ago?
Back in the day, depends how old you are. You and I are what, 60? So
But I act like I'm 20. So.
okay, 12.
Thanks for sharing.
Okay, here we go. This is, as some of you folks know, the Stranahan property right before the turn of the century, 1895. I located this photo from the Fort Lauderdale Historical Society as part of their Stranahan collection. I don't know if I'm blocking anyone. Okay, the trading post. Looks like a couple of young kids in front of the trading post. Stranahan House Museum. I like what I like is, as much as it's really interesting to see the people in the photos, I look behind and beyond. I like the structure, I like the painting, I like the artwork, I like the logo, the advertising, etc. Okay. Over here, this is crates of produce at the river docks in Fort Lauderdale, near where Brickell Avenue is today, which I guess is over that way. At one point, Fort Lauderdale was the center of the agriculture industry in Broward, and farmers from all over the county would deliver their produce by boats down the New River to the railway docks of the city. The building in the background is the Stranahan store. Here's one of the photos of the Broward County Courthouse.
Wow,
This one's 1915. I'm sure there's probably a little more security now.
gorgeous picture, love it.
This is interesting. I found this one. It's a business which it highlights the Automobile and Garage Company, again on Brickell Avenue, which is not too far from here. It's funny, when I was younger and I first saw that there was Brickell Avenue here, being from Miami, I said, wait a minute, isn't Brickell Avenue in Miami? I didn't even know that there was one here. Here we go. Las Olas Boulevard, 1920s. Doesn't look anything like this anymore, right?
Oh, no.
Look at that. I mean, it's one of these things, if you come out in the middle of the night, how do you find which car is yours?
You click the clicker.
It's the black
Good
one.
luck on
It's the
that.
clicker when it beeps.
Right. It's probably has pebbles in it back then.
Click it.
How can it be Las Olas when the beach is running north and south?
How can it be Las Olas?
Las Olas is the one that was.
Well, let's go back and take a look.
That's the beach, that's
Okay.
everything.
I think that's Las Olas, but not,
See those
not,
six
not
cars?
that street.
They're
Yeah,
on Las
that's
Olas.
Las Olas.
Okay, so that's the elbow room right there.
See, one of the things that Mike and I do, in case you want to know, Doctor, is you see over there it says FIU Library. So in the event that our text is incorrect, we encourage you to contact the FIU Library to let them know, because I know they'll greatly appreciate it. Next. All right, Hollywood Publishing Company. What we wanted to do is, because this is our only stop in Broward County, so there are some photos that are not necessarily Fort Lauderdale. We included Hollywood too, we included Dania, because it's all not too far from each other. So this is the Hollywood Publishing Company. Joseph Young, as you mentioned before, a published a Hollywood Reporter and a Hollywood News. After less than a year, Young donated the building and it became the first city hall, also the police station, jail, meeting place, and courthouse. Over the years, the building has had many nightclubs, restaurants, including Hemingway's. And this came from the Hollywood Historical Society.
What is it now?
What is it now?
Is it
We're getting there.
Okay, here's another photo of City Hall.
It was after he donated it, it became City Hall right there.
Okay, this is what it is now.
That's it.
Today it's a Peruvian restaurant called Runas, and it's also the tavern, which is right over there. So at least the building still stands. They, and who knows, they could be doing government business in there. Never know.
Could you go back to the other
Sure.
thing for a minute?
You can just do the arrows if you want on the keyboard.
Which one here?
Yeah, that, okay.
It's not the same, it's not the same building, same space,
It is. It's the section on the right.
it's the same.
Go back to
Sure.
the yellow one.
You just hit the arrow, Jeffrey, the
Mhm.
right arrow, left.
This section right here
Yeah, that's
is the original old building.
Yeah, that's
This
what I
this was
wanted.
built on
So
that.
it is the original building, but it's got a new fascia, is that the idea?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
easier.
Okay.
You know me, I'm back. Okay, this is an interesting picture. A little beat up, but it still makes the point. Here's a little view in Fort Lauderdale in the 1920s. What I like here is that we've got the names of the businesses. Swaggerty's Garage, Hotel Broward, which was one of the few hotels back then, Sunset Theater, Flippin' Hardware, Dixing Cafeteria, and the suite building over there, which is under construction. That came from the FIU library. Excellent source. There we go. Here's a wider shot. Tarpon Hotel, Sunset Theater, again the Hotel Broward, Fort Lauderdale Mercantile. I pulled this one from a library in California. There's the Kalispell Library, which is part of UCLA. The reason why I'm taking a moment to discuss the source too is because I encourage folks, after they either see a photograph or they're part of one of our presentations, to go do their own hunting, go take it further, deeper, because there's more to learn, if of course you're interested. Okay, give me 1 second with this one. This photo is pretty cool. This is.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Okay, I will. Phone talks back to me. Okay, this one here, Merle Fogg was a World War I pilot, and the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood Airport was originally called Merle Fogg Field. According to the article that I have here, the land would one day be home to Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. It started off as a golf course played on by President-elect Warren Harding in 1921. The course was destroyed in the 1926 hurricane. Friends of World War I aviator Merle Fogg, who died in 1928 after starting Fort Lauderdale's first flying service, purchased a dilapidated course in his honor for $1,200. They built 2 crisscrossing shell rock runways, and on May 1st, 1921, Merle Fogg Field opened, a site that covered less than 100 acres. Fort Lauderdale took control of the airfield in 1929, improved the runways, erected buildings. Pan Am and Eastern flew some charter flights there in the 30s. In 1942, the Navy converted Merle Fogg Field into the Naval Air Station, Fort Lauderdale, to train pilots to fly torpedo bombers. 3 main runways were paved, and barracks, administrative buildings, and a control tower were built. At its peak, about 3,600 Navy personnel and 130 aircraft were based there. Officials said Broward County was the place for training because it was so flat and the weather was good all year. They should try it like August. Perhaps the most famous student, Ensign George H.W. Bush, who at age 18 would become the Navy's youngest aviator and decades later the 41st president, so he was there. After the war, the air station was closed in 1946. It remained dormant until 1948 when Broward County started leasing it from the Navy and renamed it the Broward County International Airport. Passenger service began in 1953. Eventually, the airport was renamed Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International. So a little additional information I found out on this one.
Sorry, could I just interject one?
Absolutely.
Because you're interested in history, that's why I'm telling you. I don't know if you know, I'm sure you probably do, the owner of the Grand Beach Hotel.
I do not.
Right, he's 93 years old. He flew a plane similar to that, but in World War II.
Right.
He was part of the RAF. He was actually born in France,
Okay.
but he went to England. He somehow got himself commissioned into the RAF. Well, I guess France and England were allies, weren't
Right.
they? And he flew 38 night sorties. How he survived, I have no idea.
Huh.
And then he must have emigrated to America, and then I guess he started, but it's all on Wikipedia. And I can't think of his name. He's got a French name. I can't think offhand what his name is.
In our group, we have photos of the RAF when they were training in Clewiston.
Yes.
Because that's where their training base was.
Yes.
So he's probably part of it. I'll look into it.
Yeah, look it
Yes.
up in Wikipedia.
One of my uncles was stationed there during World War II and learned to fly at the Lauderdale Airport.
Terrific.
They have the one building left that they have a lot of items you can look at.
Oh,
So
I'll have to
Are you
check it
talking
out.
about this one?
at the Fort Lauderdale Airport, there's a naval air museum,
Yeah.
a small air museum.
Okay.
Next time I drop my wife off, I'll have to stop in there.
It's a National Register listing too.
All right, here's another photograph of the courthouse in the 1930s. We tried to group them from different eras so you could see what the changes were. All right, here we go. This is pretty interesting. We have some photos of the quaint motels and hotels that were built around by Hollywood Beach and by Fort Lauderdale back in the day, and a lot of them are still around. Here's the Caribbean on Hollywood Beach. Not so sure if it's the 30s or the 40s, and here is the Caribbean today.
Wow.
It's still there.
God, it still looks like,
So-
go back one.
Absolutely.
No, go ahead one. God, it still looks almost identical. It looks like
It
it
hasn't
was.
changed.
Oh my God.
See, somebody out there,
Fence, the
somebody
fence.
out there wants to keep the history going, not just this old relic.
I know half of Hollywood Historical Society too.
All right.
Wow.
This I found I thought was pretty cool. I guess this was the precursor to hunks moving boxes or something like that. I mean, you've got the Miss Lauderdale CNH transfer and storage. So these were moving people back in the 30s.
Wearing a tie.
Okay,
Fishing on the New
here
River.
we go. Fishing on the New River,
So,
which I think is a pretty cool picture. This one came from the Miami-Dade Public Library. Next, before there was Home Depot and Lowe's, you had Lindsay Lumber on Broward Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. Here's part of their staff. Remember when we were kids? You could do it with Lindsay's help.
Is that a private picture?
just flicker.
This picture was found on Flickr Commons. What Flickr Commons is, it's where all the photos that are in the public domain are located, so they're royalty free.
Yeah,
So you
flicker.
could use them as, you see fit. Okay, here again, I mentioned it earlier. This is a close-up picture of the Hotel Broward on Las Olas and Andrews from the 1940. And you see
Today
some of
it's
the,
called what?
pardon me?
What's it called today?
That's a good question.
It's the River House.
Oh, it's a river now.
Thank you, Doctor.
I just rode past it.
Do you have any pictures of the Southern Hotel in Hollywood that's?
On my group, yes. Okay, getting back to the Naval Air Station that we were referring to before. Here's two ladies coming out from the station. I assume they're probably wax, All right, here's an aerial view of Fort Lauderdale from the 1950s. This is what it looked like back then. This one was found on a large postcard site that I pulled from called Cardboard America. Here's today, same area.
Yuck.
Let's go back so we can look again.
Yes. Nice.
Yesterday, today.
Yuck.
Look at all the concrete Christmas trees in the middle.
Yuck.
Let's do this again to Dylan. Yesterday and today.
We got
Yeah.
to put them on the same slide.
Okay.
Yuck.
Now here's a cool photo. This is heading north, approaching Las Olas and A1A, right by the beach. If you look, there's the elbow room over there.
Still there.
Checking all the cool cars. Nobody hanging out in their cars with their beers and all like that. And here's another one of
That's still
the
there too, isn't it?
small hotels that we were talking about. This was called the Nautilus. It's an apartment, Lauderdale by the Sea, in the 1950s.
Yeah.
Now, here's
Yeah, it's
today.
still there.
Oh, it's still there. I've seen that.
Yesterday, today.
Looks still exactly the same.
Just more stuff around it.
Yeah.
I hope the TVs are more current. Okay, this was an interesting photo. Here we have East Las Olas Boulevard from Royal Palm Drive. The source right there is the original photographer of the photo, which I think is interesting. And here's another apartment in Hollywood called the My Dream Motel, 1954. This was a private, one of our members that donated this to the group. I'm not sure if this is on federal or not.
Let me ask you.
And here, this is what it is today.
Let me ask you a question. So
Wait, I have to do my today and yesterday.
Can you go
first.
back?
Today, yesterday. Okay, what was the question?
these photos that are in Hollywood, okay, these old photos, I can go to the Hollywood Historical Society and would I be able to find these?
You can find them on Hollywood Historical Society, or you could type it to our search engine, the title, click that download, and you've got the
And
photo.
they'd be able to,
All
they'd be
these
able to tell me
photos-
what's at these sites today. A lot of these sites.
Right. Okay, next. Here we go. Jackson's. I'm sure we all know about Jackson's. Jack says that this is the original storefront from 1956.
Looks better.
That's an old.
And this is what it looks like today.
Don't go there.
Why not?
Well, because
I went there and
the last
I
time
jumped a pant size the last time I
The
was
last time I went there, they told me and my boyfriend went there, and we bought ice cream, and they said we were not allowed to go inside and sit and eat ice cream. We weren't even allowed to sit outside and eat ice cream, so we said, screw it. So we went to the Dairy Bell.
Well, I'm across the border of Jackson, then I say go there.
I
So,
know.
Yeah.
You
I
bought the
go
ice
to
cream
Dairy
I
Bell.
don't
outside.
have problems,
That's
but
why.
I wouldn't put down the
A
business.
typical night in the 80s with Doctor and I, highlight in Jackson's. Next, here we go. Pay attention, there'll be a test. Okay, looking north toward the Oakland Park Bridge, Fort Lauderdale, 1956. I think this photo came from here. All right,
The
now
shooters.
let's see what it looks like today. Yesterday, today.
50 years later.
Yeah, well, you know what? I know there's a lot of building and all that,
Wait,
but
that's not
back
today.
then,
That's 10 years ago.
you might
There's
not have
another
hot
building
water.
there now.
So, I mean, you have to.
Or no AC.
The building's not there.
Okay, 1958, 1,500 people greeted the first Northeast airline flight from New York to the future Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. This is a Gene Hyde photo, who there's a book out there that they sell with his photographs on it. He was a photographer who took a lot of photos of this area and the surrounding areas. And a lot of his stuff wound up in the Sun Sentinel too, if I'm not mistaken. Broward National Bank, South Andrews, Fort Lauderdale. Okay, here's a school dance at South Broward High School in Hollywood. You know, I realized that this could have been any high school, anywhere, but I put it up there because I just thought it was a cool picture. You know, it was a real period piece, you know, where just kids, you know, like Mike and I here on our group, people dressed a lot better back then, you know, than they do now. Well, maybe they had fewer choices. I don't know. Okay, Oakland Park Federal Highway, 1960s. Doesn't look as busy as it does today. Check out the intersection. Wow.
The piano company. Baldwin Pianos.
Exactly. Now today. Today, yesterday.
Look at the horizon, the no hotels, and then all of a sudden.
It's like that movie, It's a Lost Horizon. There, Gone with the Wind. Yeah.
That's up near Wilton Manors, isn't it?
Yeah. Now this is cool. This is when the tunnel first opened. Opening day in the Fort Lauderdale Tunnel.
The Kinney Tunnel?
Yep. The Henry Kinney Tunnel. This came out of the Sun Sentinel archives. You imagine if this kid tried that today? He would be
First you need a helmet.
He would be Flat Stanley. You
You
know?
need a helmet.
Street pizza, yeah.
Long pants.
Yeah.
Who's McKinney?
Okay.
Elbow room.
All right. This one Mike pulled. This variation, not this photo, but in our book, we have a photograph of the Elbow Room when they were filming the first Where the Boys Are movie. We have one of the
George
directors with a megaphone standing up there.
In the comments of this photo on the group, somebody thought that this particular photo was also from the filming of the movie.
Oh, I see.
So I'm not sure if it was probably the same day as that other, may even be the same photographer.
It looks around the same. The
The one
time
we
frame.
have in the book is very similar to that.
Okay, here it is today, the Elbow Room.
It's never that empty.
Yeah, this had been like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Must have been a Sunday morning at like 7 or 8
They're probably
Seven or
all
eight.
nursing the hangovers from the night before.
Let's see, we can tell by the shadows.
Everybody's hung over somewhere.
Right.
Okay, this is an interesting photo that I pulled from the Department of Transportation. It gives an idea in the 1960s, shows an overview of Andrews Avenue, Stranahan Park, Broward Boulevard, Southeast 2nd, and downtown. I like the way it's broken up, and you know they have the names there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you have any pictures of the Fort Lauderdale Fire and Safety Museum?
No.
No.
Now here's today. Yesterday. Today. Okay, another one of those pay-by-the-hour hotels in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, that's today.
The Applegate Motel, 3621. You know, those are the ones that say overnight or short stay. Fort Lauderdale, and this one also came from Cardboard America.
Maybe not bad.
Here's today.
Wow, it's the second.
No swimming pool.
Oh, right.
Yeah, what's happened to the swimming pool?
I probably, you know.
Too much
Got filled
liability.
Same thing as diving boards.
They were famous for swimming.
Okay, this is interesting. I found this one on
We didn't go there
eBay.
to swim.
These are the harbor police in Fort Lauderdale in the 1960s.
That's Tom Hanks.
Pardon?
What?
I don't understand.
That looks like Tom Hanks on the left.
Oh,
It's Tom Hanks when he was younger.
okay. Here we go, from Tim Jackson. Geneva Apartments, 4324 Ocean Drive, again, Lauderdale by the Sea, 1960s. Here it is today. Yesterday, today.
They did a good job on that.
Yeah, it's still
Okay.
in the 60s.
This I thought was cool to have. An old MacArthur Dairy Dip billboard
Oh, wow.
on the west side of State Road 7. It doesn't even look like 441 there. North of Broward Boulevard. I see, you know, I double checked to make sure that the information was correct with this one, and it is, but to me, I don't see anything that looks like 441 there.
No.
And if you didn't go through it looks like a fall.
Here we go. Here's an overview of the Tradewinds Hotel, the showboat in the center over there, and the beach.
I think they're on the street. Like,
They're all white cars.
Okay, Pompano Beach High School Band. This was donated by another member from our group. I just thought it was an interesting picture, and again, Pompano is Broward County as well as Hollywood, so it fit. Okay, here's another one of the tunnel about 8 years later from the first one, showing an aerial view. Can you imagine traffic like that today?
Both lanes work.
Right, exactly. This was a pretty cool photo. United Airlines jet flying over Federal Highway. You see, you're in Dania. Sunrise Nursery, your Imperial Bowling Lane, Preston Hands Highway Drive-In Theater, and Clock Restaurant. This is next to the Fort Lauderdale Airport in 1979. We got this one from the Sunset.
the bowling alley's still there. We have a photo of the inside of the bowling alley in the group also.
What's your place?
54 lanes.
Okay, here's my wife. Oh, no. Just kidding.
That's where you met her.
Here's a typical spring break for Lauderdale 1979. I'm sure they got a very expensive ticket for the police officer.
He's giving them a ticket.
He's getting their phone.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Is that really your wife?
No.
No,
No. I didn't think
no.
so.
My wife is much prettier. And I have shown you all the photos.
But you're across the street now where that picture was taken,
Yeah.
at the Elbow Road.
So, you know, this basically gave you somewhat of an overview, but as many photos as you saw, we put up about 50 photos. We easily have close to 700 or 800 photos of the area in our group. This was just a small sampling of what we can do. And what the biggest takeaway is from it, yes, you could say progress. There are people that say progress ruined the area, progress did this, progress did that. I believe in progress. I believe in moving forward. But I believe in what we're doing so you never forget where you came from. You know, that's the beginning. So, oh look, I'm still talking. All right. Do we have any questions, folks?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, my first question is, you said that you're not allowed to post more than a certain number of photos on Facebook.
We used to. Facebook originally had, as Mike mentioned earlier, they had a 5,000 photo limit per group. Once you hit the 5,000 limit and you put anything additional, it would start automatically deleting your earliest photos.
That's what I'm worried about. yes.
So we moved on to our next group. In 2016, I believe, they lifted the rule.
Ah.
And they allowed you to do it unlimited, so that's when we changed our group name, as Mike said,
Ah, right.